Welcome to this, the third in our Going for Growth seminars, one which is one of 7. These are all taken from my book, Going for Growth. If you don't have a copy, please let us know and we will be delighted to provide you with a free copy. I'm Derek, Goddards Accountants. Everything we do is in the cloud using simple stuff that works, because simple stuff that works is better than complicated stuff that doesn't. Our firm does everything where possible in the cloud, because that way it costs you less money and enables us to be far more efficient. So this is our third webinar out of 7, and it's getting customers to spend more. Again, we're going to be using more edge decorators to take us forward, and using more edge, we are going to be looking at what we can do to make them more profitable. Just to remind you, he was making £27,500 profit running his business, whereas he could have been earning 25 as a hired hand. So he was actually earning 2,500 extra for the privilege of being self-employed. So here we go. Well, the first thing is telling your customers about your other products and services and offering you multiple choices. Have you ever been into Starbucks? When you ask for a tea or a coffee, they ask you, what would you like? Would you like a small, a medium, or a large? And this is deliberate because a percentage will go for the larger one. Or have you ever been into McDonald's? And you say, I'd like a hamburger. What's their reply? Is it yes? Is it no? No. Their reply is, would you like fries with that? And then, having asked you, would you like fries, they'll probably ask you, would you like a cup of tea or something else? Now, if the hamburgers cost you £1.50 and the fries cost you 75 pence, rather than just spending £1.50, you've now ended up paying £2.25. That's a 50% increase in your expenditure on this one item. And you will find that quite often McDonald's will run through 3 or 4 questions before they finally take your order. That way, they've increased what was £1.50 up to possibly £3 or £4. Do that across the millions that McDonald's are doing, and you suddenly realize how much money that comes to. Again, looking back at Starbucks, and their do you want to go large question. Think of the implication of that. Have you offered a tempting upgrade? Are you showing them the most expensive? Indeed, ideally, you should always start to show them the most expensive item and then come down item by item. If you can sell them the most expensive, that's more profit. More importantly, quite often they will not even know about the more expensive offer. So give them the opportunity to say no. When they say no to the most expensive, it doesn't mean no to buying a product. And then you come down the range to the cheaper ones. Also, if you know that they quite like to have chips with their burger, what do McDonald's do? They will actually say, we'll give you a deal whereby you get the burger, you get chips, and you get a drink. So you are now bundling 2 or more products together. That becomes a tempting upgrade. Again, depending upon what you're selling, you might well want to sell them more. So a simple matter is buy 100 and we'll drop the price by 5 or 10%. At the end of the day, they can always say no. And offering ranges, which goes back to my original point about starting at the top. In our case, we talk to clients about our platinum service. We then come down to our gold, then to our silver, and finally to the bronze. Indeed, on that, how many getting customers to buy more systems do you have? Do you even have a script? I'm not suggesting it's a written down one that you pick up and you read and say, according to this, what you should do is buy this. Clearly, that's not going to work. But if you can work out in your head a selection of buying systems, that will work. And don't just have one. How many have you got? And indeed, look at other systems. What do other people do? And try them, test them, and then see which system works the best. Equally, if you find that a particular bundle encourages customers to spend more, use that bundle as a regular promotion. I've previously said about incentives. Again, yes, look at incentives. Why would they want to buy large quantities or large sizes? And last of all, on that little screen, make it easy for customers to try other products or services you offer. If you don't tell them that you're offering that service, they won't know. We always find this very difficult when we're dealing with solicitors. Invariably, they come to us to look at a fraud case. When we talk to them, we also remind them of our other services. But subsequently, months later, they will ring us up and say, I've got a loss of profits case. Do you deal with them? Well, the answer is yes, because we've already told you. So even if you've told them, don't just tell them once, keep reminding them of your complete product range. Not just for them, but because they may then recommend your product that they're not using to one of their friends. The other thing to do is ask yourself, what could you do that nobody else in your industry does? As I say, going back to Starbucks and McDonald's, look at what they do. They do this as a training exercise. When staff join, they are taught how to sell burgers. Now, if somebody thinks that a burger is important enough to teach their staff to sell, then whatever you are selling, treat as very important. Another point you should think about is, if money were no object, what other getting customers to buy more ideas could you test? If you're getting a reasonable number of clients, would it hurt to end up with one particular sale that you make no money on because you were testing an idea? So give that a try. And then, if it works, how can you take that money no object idea and turn it into something that is cost effective, i.e. profitable? And I will remind you that a profitable business is one that has a profit margin that leaves you with a net profit after all overhead expenses and which your customer has paid in due time. Very, very important that. In the previous webinars, I've talked about systems. Every business needs to have systems. Recently, I had to do a business valuation, and it was a small business. And the other side in the court's argument was, well, when the chappie died, because the ladder he was on, 30 feet up, literally broke in half, one day old, and not surprisingly, he died. And the other side's argument was, oh, well, there are no systems, so therefore the business isn't worth a row of pennies. Now, we're arguing because fortunately it turned out that there was a system which his wife managed because she did all the marketing and the admin. He merely got up the ladder. And so we've been able to argue that there is a system. But a lack of systems can reduce the value of a business by up to 75%. So please, again, bear in mind, what systems do you have? And do you want to go large? So I notice I've got one online. Sanjeev, any questions?
Well, yeah, as you know, I'm in the business of helping business owners get their businesses to the next level, and to help do a number of things that you talked about. But it's about structuring and scaling their businesses and putting in place all the things they need to do to get better results from their teams, more effective systems, and all the levers for growth. So, yeah, I was just curious to see what your perspective on this. That's why I joined the webinar.
Good. Well, it's nice that a professional like yourself from Action Coach is listening in. If anybody does want to go into greater depth and want proper training on this, rather than just buying our book, Going for Growth, I can pass you on to Sanjeev. We work very closely with him on doing seminars, and I can highly recommend these because this will help your businesses be more profitable. So thank you for coming on board, Sanjeev. Next month in January, we will be talking about getting customers to spend more often. So I look forward to hearing from people in January. Thank you for signing on, and goodbye.